All right, welcome. Today we're going to go through overlooked uses of Google Docs. All right, now to access Google Docs, there's several ways you can do this. So you can kind of see I'm in my Google Drive right now. Um, if I want to create a brand new Google Doc, the easiest way is just to click on the little plus sign right here. If you hit new, you can go to Google Docs right here. All right, now this is one way you can do this. Now to kind of change your Google Doc type and stuff like this. Oops. Type in toss this. If I could spell correctly, that would help today. Okay, and when I click on this, you're going to notice as a default, which is a little slow, over here there's a folder. Okay, and when I click on this, you're going to see right off the bat it says My Drive. Okay, and that's one way you can do that. Okay, and it's an easy way to do this. Another way you can do this is if I go to classes over here, and let's just say I was in 3D printing, and if I clicked a new Google Doc here, okay, it will then give us a warning. So it's going to tell us that it's created the Google Doc in a shared folder. When I hit create and share on this one, you can kind of see. I'm going to again call this one toss this. Okay, and if I click up here, it's automatically going to change my title. But the next thing I want to do is if I click on this little folder that will be popping up here in a second. It's going slow. Okay, here's the folder. When I click on that, it will then tell me that I'm creating it in a 3D printing. Okay, so you can kind of do this. You can always move your file. Notice you can move it wherever you want later on. But that's just one way to actually go through this. Now, the next thing I noticed is a lot of people, in terms of sharing, there's lots of options in sharing, first of all. Okay, you'll notice that at the top, this is just a 3D printing file. At the top, there's an option that says share. When I click on share, you're going to see that, first of all, I can add new people. Now, before I do this, you have options. So I can give people the ability to edit, which will give them basically full control. I can allow them just to comment, which doesn't give them edit rights, just allows them to comment. And then last but not least, I can allow them to view it, which is more or less just a file. It's basically completed, allows someone to see it, but they can't do anything with it. Now, the other thing you can do, I'm going to click on, notice I've got this shared with one person. If I click on this though, there's other options that we have as well. Okay, first of all, I want to point these options down here. You have an option that prevents the editors from changing access and adding new people, which allows them, basically if you want to share a file with someone but you don't want them to share it with multiple people, as in if you're afraid that just so many eyes and people having access to this file is going to get changed, or they're going to share it outside the domain, or whatever else you might want to prevent them from doing, that might be an option you want to select to prevent people from doing this. The other option, disable the ability to download, print, and copy. If you want people to see it but don't want them to actually make any edits or do anything with it, it's just more or less to view only, you can allow them to, by selecting that button, it will only allow them to do that. Now the other thing is, notice I've shared this with this one person, and this is an option I notice a lot of people do not know at all. Okay, if I click this set expiration button right here, this now allows me to actually limit the access that they have for a certain amount of time. So if I want them to have access to it for like 20 days and then it disappears, you can just select this, and then at the end of that time period, they won't have the ability to access it anymore at all. And that's a nice little feature, but a lot of people don't know that exists. Now, there's one other thing I probably should have gone through as well. Notice when you go to share, if you are inside a school domain, as a default, one of the things that you have at the top is it will only allow you to share with people inside your own domain. Okay, and you can click on this, you can copy the link, you don't even have to hit Control C or Command C, you can click copy link. But a lot of times you want to be able to share this with people outside your school. So there are options you can do. Notice you can give them a link that allows them to edit or comment as well. But the option I really want to focus on is this down here where it says More. When you click on More, especially if you're going and you need to share it with people outside your domain, you probably want to use this option right here where it says On, anyone with the link. If you do this where it allows anyone with the link, if you go to a conference and you share with people at other schools or something like that, that allows them to, first of all, see the document you're trying to share with them. But that also might be the reason that they can't see the file as well. If you've tried sharing a file you created in Google Drive with somebody else, a good chunk of the time it's because you've selected this where it's only allowing the people inside your domain to see it. Okay? One last little option I think is very, very helpful, and this is something that you just kind of need to understand as well. If you want to force someone to get a copy of this file, you can do this. Okay, notice at the top, I'm going to zoom in here real quick, but at the top you've got an option where it says edit. Okay, if you just simply click on that and remove edit and type in copy instead, and if you copy that link and send it to somebody else, when they open it, it will automatically force them. I'm going to send this to myself just so you can kind of see exactly what this does. Okay, but if I paste this real quick and I send this here, which, let's see, red. Okay, when I click on this link, it's automatically going to hit this option right here where it forces them to copy the document. Okay, and this is a nice way where, especially if you're sending with students, if you for some reason aren't using Google Classroom and you want to send that to all of your students, that is a really nice clean-cut way to make them have a copy. This prevents them from actually like overwriting your original copy. So for instance, if you wanted to make a template and you wanted to share that with your students, that is a very, very handy feature to do. And again, all you have to do is type in copy at the end where it normally says edit. The next thing I want to look at is the revision history and the draft back feature. Now, I think a lot of people kind of have a general idea how to do this. Now, this is one that a student made. So if I go over here to File and I go down to Version History, you can kind of see a couple things. First of all, I can hit See Version History, which I think is a nice little thing you can look at. Okay, I can actually look at who originally created the file, so I can go all the way back and I can see the first day they did absolutely nothing. Okay, at least at 2:11. At 2:29, we can kind of see there were some things that people were actually starting to write in. You can kind of see exactly who was doing the work, shows exactly what they were doing. And I can also go over here where I can kind of look at this. This is from a while ago. But I can also, when I click on this, you can see exactly what other people were doing on this document as well. Doesn't look like much happened at all. But you can kind of see, you could go back and it should highlight, show you what they were doing at that point in time. Okay, you can kind of see they deleted something, and it shows you exactly everything that they did in that section. Now, that's nice and it's helpful. But there's one other feature that I think is really, really helpful. Now, there's a thing that I thought was standard called draft back. And I found, since I showed people this and it wasn't popping up for them, I found out it is actually an extension. So if you go to the Chrome store and type in draft back, there is a nice little feature. It's right here. If you add that, this is what it allows you to do. So I'm going to go back to that 3D printing final that we looked at earlier. I'm going to go to this draft back feature right here. So I'm going to hit play. Okay, and what this allows you to do, this allows you to see exactly what they were doing at that time. So you can kind of go through, it shows you exactly how they went through it. You can see the kind of the edits. You can kind of go through it. If you want to go slow, you can go fast. You can go through all of those things as you're going. Okay, the one thing that it doesn't do is it doesn't allow you to see like the pictures that they added. There's some formatting that's a little off, but it does allow you to see a lot of things you might not see otherwise. For instance, on this one, if I go to draft back, right, if I go to this one, you can kind of see exactly what they were typing as they were going through. Now, the reason I kind of show this one, you can kind of see they add a bunch of gibberish, and you can kind of see they were all messing around, and there's a lot of things that you can see in here that normally you wouldn't see otherwise. Okay, and there's some other things that these guys did that was a little creative, but that is all found in DraftBack, and it is a really, really nice feature that you might see on there. All right, we're back. The next thing I wanted to look at was the research tools on Google Docs. Now, first of all, I should probably tell you that they no longer call it research tools. At one point in time, under tools, you would see there was an option that says research. They didn't get rid of it though. It's now under a thing called Explore. And there's several ways you can actually access this. First of all, you're going to notice you can use the shortcut or you can click Explore. But down here at the very, very bottom, it's kind of hidden in plain sight. But if you click on this, you'd also have Explore as well. Now, where this comes in handy, let's say I was doing a project on lions. And it would help if I spell lion right. But under lion, right here, you're going to see that now I've got information. Now, first of all, it automatically pops up information from Google that you have. But notice there's some things down here that I can do as well. There's these quotations, which is helpful. So let's say that this information right here I wanted to use. Okay, so I'm just going to paste this over here. And there's several ways you can get this information to appear over here, by the way. But the next thing is, notice I can cite this as a footnote. And when I do this, it automatically throws that information right there. And you can kind of see that information has a footnote now. And if you want to change this, which we will do as well here, you can always change this from APA to MLA. And when I do that, you're going to see it will go back and forth between those. At least it... Oh, well, let me delete that again. Let's cite this as a footnote again. Let's go to MLA now. Now the site is a footnote. You're going to see now it is in MLA format. And also, let's say that we went through here. Oh no. Okay, so if I wanted to do this, let's say this is some other information that I wanted to put in there. I can now, paste that right there. And this was this information right here. So if I click on this beside it, now it automatically reorganizes my footnotes, and you can kind of see that information is now there. It's really, really helpful, and a lot of students don't realize that's there, so it's something that you and your students probably both want to realize it's there. You can always do this as well. If you go to images, kind of the same deal. If you insert an image, now you've got this image in there as well. You can add all sorts of stuff there. You can now even add stuff from your drive. Surprisingly, I have some videos that students made with lions in there as well. So a nice feature, just one cool thing that Google has embedded inside their docs. All right, the next thing I kind of wanted to show you too is you also have the ability to do comments. Now, where comments come in handy, if you did this, for instance, like I can just click on this comment right here, and I can say something like this: please look at this. Right? So if I hit comment, you can kind of see it leaves a little spot right there. It's nice, it's handy. It can even highlight sections of this. Let's do this one. We'll say, is this correct? You can do this, and it shows you exactly where people are at. Now, that's nice, and you can share, people can see this, but there's one thing I want to point out too. Sometimes, as in a classroom setting, you might want to actually go through and assign certain comments to certain people. And you can do that, and a lot of people don't realize you can do that. But for instance, if I highlighted cat family down here, and I hit this add comment, if you hit the plus sign down here, which is kind of hard to see down here, it will pull people from your contact list. So if I selected this, you can kind of see I can assign this to her. It says, your mention will add people to this discussion and send an email. So if I click on that and then I hit assign, then they would actually see that they have something that they were supposed to look at. Okay, and I believe the other thing you can do, I think you can do an add sign too, if you do that. Yeah, if you can do the at sign too, does the same thing. So that's a nice thing that you can do where certain people can see those comments. Not everyone has to look at it. So for instance, where I would use that is if there's a student in your class that you know maybe struggles with some basic grammar, and you see that in their papers a lot, you might just create something to have them basically do some editing and highlight something where there, for instance, if there it needs to be a comma somewhere, just highlight that section and send it to them, see if they can figure out what is wrong with that part. It's a nice way to do some basic editing inside the little comments section. Okay, the next thing is another thing that's kind of hidden in plain sight. This is a nice little feature, but if you go to Tools, and if I hit Voice Typing right here, okay, when I click on this, it says Click to Speak. It will allow my microphone to be used on this one. Basic Book, comma, by Scott Hagedorn, period. Now, when you do that, you're going to notice, first of all, I kind of did this as a demonstration, but it will not just automatically add commas and things like that or periods. You actually have to say that manually. But it is a nice little feature. You can do some fun things with it. And I've noticed a lot of students, if they are a slow typist, you can go through and add a bunch of text very quickly. For those kids that kind of struggle, or if they have a disability, broken arm, or anything like that. It is a very nice feature to have some of your students use. Now, the other thing, it's also kind of hidden under here under Tools, but you've got this little Keep Notepad. And this one is kind of like reminders. If you use like an iPhone or something like that, there's some things like this that you have. But you can add, you can take, let's hit take a note right here. And I'm going to just randomly say, check the mail. All right, so I've got this. If I click on these three little dots right here, I can add it to my document if I wanted. I can open and keep, and that's what I'm going to actually do right now. And you're going to see that when I open this and keep, this is another thing that you can actually do. You can add different things here. If I click on these little three dots, I can put labels on it. I can put check boxes. So if I'm going to do this one, so now I've got a little checkbox where I can click off on this little thing here too. I can add collaborators. I can put a reminder on here, so I can say check this later today. I want to change the time here. Say evening at 6 p.m. I can repeat this. I can do all sorts of things with this if I so choose. Okay, and I can also notice when you click on the little mail, now it says that I've already done it, so you can do some things there. Some cool little features there, kind of hidden. It's not really hidden, but if you don't know it's there, sometimes you might not know it's there at all. But sometimes if you wanted to add some notes, if you already have this from your Keep, you can add these different things as well. Okay, so that is Google Keep, kind of hidden there, right there. Now, the next thing, which I think is a huge, huge thing, especially with all the ebooks and things like that, is paragraph styles. And a lot of people ask me, what is paragraph styles? So first of all, if you go to Format, you're going to notice there's a thing that's called paragraph styles. Where this really comes in handy is for table of contents, for ebooks, and things like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you're going to notice I've got this one called Basic Book. So I'm going to highlight, this is going to be the title of my book. So under Format, if I go to Paragraph Styles and I call this Title, I will now have my title. All right, so now it has this. Now, I'm going to, underneath here, I'm going to paste some random text under each of these. So you can kind of see what this does. All right, so over here, I'm going to go to Chapter 1, and under Format, once again, I'm going to go to Heading 1 this time. So I'm going to hit Apply, Heading 1. And while I'm doing this, a lot of times people say, I don't really like the way this is looking, all right, in terms of what this font actually looks like. First of all, I want to note that you can actually change the way this looks. So, for instance, under this heading, you can update the heading if you want to match it. So if you want to change the font, you can do that. I'm just using the default ones here. And what I'm going to do with this one, let's do this one more time here. I think this is the, did I have 5? I did have 4. Okay, so now what you can do here, and this is where this comes in handy in my opinion, let's hit an insert, let's go to a page break right here. Okay, and on my second page what I want is really I want a table of contents. Okay, so underneath this, there's table of contents right here, and I'm going to go ahead and do one that has page numbers. Okay, and then behind here, in front of this, let's hit insert page break again. I believe, I only have 3 chapters. Must have done something wrong here. Okay, so if I go to, let's try this with heading 1 again. Okay, so a second ago, this actually will work out perfectly. I had one with the wrong one. Okay, now you're going to see that I've automatically got more things in there. Okay, so I've got my 4 chapters, the page numbers are there, and the cool thing about this, I'm going to hit return several times. I'm going to paste that random text on here several times, just so you can kind of see that it does actually update. Okay. Alright, so here's a lot of random text on here. Now, when I go back up to this, you're going to notice it still has the same page numbers on there. Okay. If I click on this with the table of contents and I hit refresh over here, now it's got all of these little things on there. Now, you can also, under Insert, you can always change this to with blue links, okay? And if this is like a Google Doc or something like that, if you click on it, it will automatically take you to that little section that is there. So there's some really cool things that you can do with this. You can make nice little PDF files if you want. You can make ebooks. There's countless things you can really do by using those little paragraph features. And it's also really helpful for you to find things later on as well. All right. So those are some of the things that I wanted to go through with some of the overlooked uses of Google Docs. Thank you.